So I guess like what's kind of the starting basis to help people kind of begin to change their default actions?
Dude, I mean, it starts with identity, right? Ultimately, I
Mm,
think a lot of people, what they don't realize is a lot of the actions that you take on the day to day are purely a result of the beliefs and the identities that you hold, right? The subconscious things that are going on between your ears. If you believe one thing, you're going to act in accordance with that, right? If you identify with one thing, you're going to act in accordance with that. A very common thing that we have guys say when they join is like, I'm lazy. Well, they act lazy because they believe they're lazy and they identify with being lazy. That's the entire reason that you're acting that out. And the things that you act out ultimately become your reality, right? The actions that
right.
you take are ultimately what cause the real life circumstances that you have. So it really starts between the ears. Everybody that comes into the program, the very first thing that they do is they go through some mental frameworks to help them reverse those identities and those beliefs that they hold. And then the next step going through that is how do we actually take actions in the day to day to align
Mhm.
with those identities and those beliefs and these things that we want to become? Where do we want to be at the end of this program? Where do we want to be for the rest of our life? We have to align the things that we're doing in the day to day with those new identities that we're trying to step into. So it really starts between the ears, man.
I love it. I love it. It's definitely having mindset's everything. If your mindset's not consistent and again, developing the identity of who you want to become, then it's tough luck, unfortunately, and it's changing your mindset. I'm sure, as you know, is not the easiest at all.
No, no, not at all, man. Especially when it's something that a lot of the guys that go through the program, and like you were in the program yourself as
Yeah,
well. So I don't know if the
was.
listeners know that. So like you went through the program yourself. And you met a lot of the guys that were in there. Is like these are things that they've been battling for decades. That's not something that switches overnight, right? It's something that if you're not careful about, could very easily revert back to what you were thinking about beforehand, right? So it's not an easy journey by any means, right? It is relatively simple. It is relatively simple. There's not a lot of steps involved in it, but it's by no means easy, right? It is a hard process because it's change. Any kind of change is uncomfortable. So yeah, dude, 100%.
Yeah, but as we both have come to kind of learn over the years of like working with people, it's the only area to really grow in is facing discomfort. And once you face that comfort and get out of that comfort zone, that's where the real growth and the real challenges really come about.
100%. I think it's where you kind of find your character as well when you're faced with adversity, when you're faced with challenges. That's ultimately where you find who you actually are. Because like everybody is one thing when it's easy, you know what I mean?
Right.
And when things get difficult, that's really when, in my opinion, true colors come out, right? Whatever the situation is, whether it be physical discomfort, mental discomfort, circumstantial discomfort, whatever it may be, that's when you really find out who you really are.
Right.